So, Scott,
Okay,
go ahead.
Okay, this is my first response.
Okay.
Is that the more I see what these guys show us with the gematria and the Q drops, and Dave of News Treason made a very important point in a roundtable the other night, which is the Anons thought they knew everything by following the Q drop, but they stopped there. And they criticized Rambo and Dave and Matrix, Q Breaker, and Space Shot 76 and Tron. And they criticize those guys because they're still doing it. And there was just a roundtable with someone I hadn't heard before, but Stormy Joe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These are all brilliant guys in my take. So please.
They are. You know, when I first had, I called it my coming out, DJT, and Retruth, my GB News interview. So I was incognito until then. I got to do all my work for the Department of Defense in secrecy. I didn't have to tell anyone I was taking the temperature or what it was, you know, and so early on, somebody was criticizing me, or I supported Rambo. Rambo and I, in my early months, because I think I'd been invited into a private chat room, and then I said one thing about Flynn, and I got kicked out. But I supported Rambo in a post, and people went after him and me. That was kind of like, you know, I had been on the NBC Today show as their management expert. I wrote a bestseller. I'd always been in the media, moved to the UK, was so happy to not be in the media, not be part of the social media. There was part of me that was so afraid of being criticized. And then the first couple of times it happens, you understand how DJT can take it. It's like, you just don't take it seriously. You take it as an expression from the person, a projection of where they're at, and it doesn't make their thinking or their comment right. It just makes it their perception of things. But I digress. To the brilliance of these guys, and I am like, I listen to podcasts as they would explain Q drops. So I'm not that ignorant, but on this round table, when Stormy Joe did a timeline from 2017 of the Q drops to now, and it blew the minds of Rambo and Dave and Space Shot, and Matrix wasn't on, but I'm sure because Rambo told him to then, he had to come on later.
Right.
That if it blew their minds,
right?
Can you imagine? I'm hearing this for the first time, and how it blew my mind.
I haven't seen it yet. Do you know the date of that show? Was it in the last week or so?
Oh yes. Oh, believe me, it's on my reading list. It's on my favorites. It's so brilliant on so many levels.
That's awesome.
And listening to them, and the other person that I listen to is Josh Reed, Red Pill Project.
Yep. Sharp dude. Yep.
Very, very sharp dude.
Stormy, I know that we have a limited amount of time with you. That was plenty of intro. I think everybody's pretty much piled in, although they're still coming. I would love to just set you free, brother. I'm looking forward to this because I don't have enough time in the day to catch up on everything. And some of your digs are stuff I get really upset when I miss. So if you want to take over, brother, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I think it's a really important dig. You know, it goes through even pre-Q all the way to current day, and it really ties in all the key players, a lot of key events, and it takes you right into today's news. So, you know, it's extremely important. And when you see all these things strung together, there's over a dozen Q proofs that all interlock, and they even swing back around and repeat. So it's pretty amazing. All right. So let me jump into it. All right, if you could throw that up. Okay. So we start with Q888, and it's going to come full circle. This is a March 8th Delta of 2018. Okay. And what's embedded in this particular Q post is a Donald Trump truth from November 14th, 2017. And he's thanking Asia like he went on an Asia trip. All right. And then it says, thank you, Kim Jong. Deal made. Clowns out. Strings cut. We took control and Iran's next. Okay. And here's the next key player in this whole story is Rocket Man Musk. Now, prior to the Q drops, in February of 2017, he put out a book called Rocket Man. Okay. Now, prior to the Q drops, Donald Trump was on this mad freaking Twitter blast about Kim Jong, and he was calling him Little Rocket Man. Now, just to tell you my own personal experience, I voted for Donald Trump. I liked him and everything, but you know, this was prior to the Q drops. I was pretty much in normie world. And he's going off with Kim Jong, calling him Rocket Man. They both got their finger on the button. It was like crazy world, right? We didn't know what was going on. Okay. Now the Q drops start shortly after this back and forth. So he's in September and October of 2017 going on this crazy blast with Little Rocket Man. And we don't really know what's going on. But in between Donald Trump's post, the Q operation starts, and Q kind of plays this game where Q is trying to tell us that Elon Musk behind the scenes is really helping with North Korea and the SpaceX technology and all these types of things. Now, you're going to have to use your own discernment and try to figure that out as we go. But I'm just trying to tell you the backdrop. So Anons are putting it together. He's calling Kim Jong Rocket Man. Meanwhile, Musk has a book out called Rocket Man. So Anons are like, holy shit. The president's tweets are really connecting Kim Jong and Elon Musk, and Q confirms it. Do you believe in coincidences? Okay. Now, the funny thing was, I was going to put this slide in when I did this presentation, and what the picture is he acquires Twitter, but 2 days before he walks in the door, he shows up early, and he's carrying the sink in. Okay. And he surprises the Twitter team, and he ends up letting go like 30 or 40% of the team. But the funny thing is, I went to go grab this slide and put in his picture, and he retweeted it yesterday, like when I was putting the deck together. So that was pretty freaking wild. And not only did he retweet the picture, but Kim Sachs found that it hits a delta. So this is him on March 10th retweeting the picture of him walking into Twitter 2 days ahead of schedule with the sink. But not only that, is he's hitting 4 to 6%. So here's the cue with let that sink in. But yesterday in March 11th, Delta with the 4 to 6% right here. So got the 4 to 6%, March 10th, March 11th, 4 to 6%. Let the sink in, let the sink in. Okay. These are all comms showing you that Musk is part of the show. All right.
It's so funny. When that hit the first time, I laughed for like an hour. Let that sink in. Good.
All right. I'm not going to play the interview, but Donald Trump was asked, this is like leading up to the election about Elon Musk, and he says he's a patriot. But here's the thing. Twitter is the most important platform in the world as far as social media goes. They say it can swing elections 17% or more. So, you know, and you have to come to the realization Donald Trump just didn't give this guy the authority to build on his federal sites and put stuff in space and have the the technology without having control of Elon Musk. You can say he was a bad guy that we flipped, or you can say he was always a good guy, or you can say that that's not even the same Elon Musk walking around anymore. I'm not even sure which one of the three it is. All I know is whoever that is now is full control. So he buys the Twitter. After that walk, let this sink in 2 days later, on October 28th, 2022, he acquires Twitter on an exact 5-year delta of the Q operation. That's not a coincidence. Okay. The same interview that he was asked about Musk, he gets asked about Kim Jong, and he says, he's a great guy too, whatever. But this leads you back to the original Q drops where, like, as that whole moment was going back and forth with Kim with his finger on the button, but Q puts up that picture with Donald Trump's Air Force One. Anand starts to say, oh my God, did these guys meet? What's going on here? So Anand says, oh my God, here we go. North Korea, there's going to be a meeting with 45. So they start talking about the upcoming summit that there's a rumor about. But Q886 says, actually, we already did meet. Think back, we gave you the signal with that picture of Air Force One. Everything has meaning. This is going to break the MSN. So this is so huge because this is actually a template that I've used over and over and over again. Nothing is what it seems. Q gave us the playbook right here. Okay. And, they have the summit, and he's asked about President Z in this meeting too, this interview. And also he says he's a great guy, friends. We had a great meeting, the Forbidden City and all that. And this comes back around later as we go. Okay. So now we have the summit. This is June 12th, 2018. And here's the March 8th information right here that the Q was kicked off about, because it gets kind of announced that the summit's coming. Okay. But the summit is right here, Trump and Kim Jong on June 12th. Now, remember what Q said. Here comes the first Q proof. Q said on March 8th to look for, once we have the deal with Kim, that it becomes public. In other words, we already had the deal in place. But once we have deal with Kim public, we're going to go into Iran next. Okay. So the summit was on the 12th, and now that this report came out on the 13th, but he's at the summit, and Donald Trump says he hopes to negotiate a real deal with Iran right after the summit with Kim. So that's the Q proof that Q was telling us to look for. As soon as we finish with Kim, we're going to go to Iran next. And that's exactly what happens. So Q told us that in March on the left side of the screen, and then it happens in June on the right side of the screen. That's what a military operation looks like. This isn't moves and counter moves and, oh my God, he really had his finger on the button. This is all planned years in advance military operation. Okay, that's a Q proof right there. Okay. Now we're into 2025. June of 2025, the Absolute Storm team started to pick up signals about what ends up to be Operation Hammer ahead of time. Okay. So one of the signals we got was from JD Vance. Some rumors were going around that something's going on with Iran, but this was a flat out Delta hit where Vance is taking Trump's Truth Social post, putting it on Twitter. And here's the big meeting with POTUS on the exact Delta. And there's the Iran developments. Okay. And Iran is starting to get on high alert. Okay. And I'm like, escalation coming, Iran next. Okay. Then we get another signal from Trump on June 11th. And he's talking about, China's done. And then we got the timestamp hitting deal done. So again, this is the Q operation letting us know our playbook's the same. The deal's already done, guys. Whatever you're going to see in the news coming up, it's all optics. It's the playbook coming back around again. But this one was so crystal clear, and it's actually kind of made me laugh when it happened. So on June 11th, Donald Trump is walking in to the Kennedy Center to go see Lee Miz. Okay. And he's all in his tux on the red carpet, and he's going to sit like behind the orchestra to see Lee Miz. On the exact Delta, he gets asked on that runway, what's going on with Iran? and he says, hey, man, I gave them 60 days. They can't have nukes. No way. That's what he says. On the exact delta, June 11th, you go to Q 1454, Iran deal orchestrated. And then it says nothing to do with nukes. That's all covered. He's going to see Lee Miz to sit behind the orchestra, and he says they can't have nukes. No way. The day before. And this is right before his 60-day deadline runs out.
What the?
So then so the people that were like in the weeds with all this and not understanding these comms and communication, Israel hits first, and everybody's like, oh shit, Israel jumped in front of Trump. What's going on here? What's going on? Meanwhile, he says flat out, I gave them the 60 days. They didn't meet it. Today's day 61. So of course, and by the way, we helped Israel with intelligence, and it was a coordinated effort that later our administration admits to. But this is June 13th, 2025. Does that ring a bell? It should. Check this out. This is the mind blower. On the left side of the screen was the original Q proof of the 2018 summit. June 13th, 2018. We started the operation for Operation Hammer, Midnight Hammer, June 13th, 2025, an exact 7-year to the day Delta. All right. I got a
He
lot.
suffers from autism.
I don't suffer. I just have it.
This is Joe. This is all just coincidence. Let's put that disclaimer in. This is all coincidence.
I mean, are you sure Trump's not just shooting from the hip? Because some people think that.
But meanwhile, because people don't follow this stuff like we do, and Abs and I are getting like attacked on Twitter, and even during our show comments are, oh, Trump's getting puppeted by Israel. Like, what are you talking about? He told you the timeline, and it ended. And the night before, he said, we're going to take care of business. And he's retweeting this Israel submitted a video time and time again for years. And then he says, hey, I always knew the date of the attack. I told you guys. Okay. Now, this is just mind blowing. So now it's June 15th. On the left is the Donald Trump Truth Social post about what's going on with the Midnight Hammer. Okay. And he says, fight, fight, fight. So in the red box for almost the near delta, June 19th, Q 1558 is the fight, fight, fight. That same day, we're propping up people with knowledge around what's going on with Iran. The Iran regime is weaker ever before. It's time for regime change. This is the same day. All in yellow. Free Iran, regime change, power to the people. We stand with you. Everything on your screen is showing you an exact military plan, years in advance, getting executed to the day, to the second. Red, fight, fight, fight. Yellow, all everything that Fox News is talking about that day. Clear? All right. So he pumped that out at 12:44. Now, baked at the Q 12:44. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it was another situation where we freed Armenia. Okay. And then it says on the bottom here, like North Korea, these people need to be freed too. And the next Q is 12:45. And this is so important because it says, here's the order. We're going to free Saudi Arabia, then North Korea, then Armenia, then Iran. So everything this thing was talking about bangs right off of his post that I just told you he was announcing about Midnight Hammer and everything like that. 12:44. This is the stepping stones to these two Qs. And here's the timeline right here. So nothing that happened with Midnight Hammer was a surprise to the absolute storm team. I can tell you that. All right. So now we're into this year. Okay. Leading up to the State of the Union address, we started to pick up some comms. Trump was saying consequential a bunch and things like that. Okay. And the consequential in the Q drops, there's a bundle of Qs from 499 to 511. Those bundle of Qs are all, there's about 6 or 7 Q proofs that are all tied together. And one of them is Fire and Fury. So we were pointing out consequential, and then the next day, POTUS said it 7 times in 59 seconds. He said it 7 times in 59 seconds. So we're like, he must really want us to know this. So we put it up on the show, and we showed Fire and Fury on February 19th. And in that time frame, injected into the news cycle was Bannon and the Epstein files. So I went back and I was showing the Q proof of Fire and Fury. So I'll do it quick, but Fire and Fury was a book by Michael Wolff. Steve Bannon helped out with it. These are the chapters 1 through 22, and they talk all about Bannon and everything like that. But there's 2 chapters 6 and 10 at home in Goldman. In the table of contents, they're spelled correctly, but when you went to the actual chapters, they changed the O's for Q's in both of these 2 chapters, 6 and 10. You could buy this book today and flip to these chapters, and this is what it would look like.
In Michael Wolff's book? That's crazy.
Bro, that is insane.
Yep.
And Q let us know right here, 2 chapters with Q's. Coincidence? No. And it's also big because, just real quick, at the time, it was like sloppy Steve. Steve turned on Trump, all this crap. No, he didn't. This is all show. And Q is showing you, once you learn the comms and you understand that, of course, it's all part of the show. He ends up doing a pardon with Steve Bannon and all that. But we were on to Fire and Fury before the operation came out. So now we're heading towards the State of the Union. And as you saw, the Q's, O's returned to Q's, O's returned to Q's, O's returned to Q's. So now we're heading towards the State of the Union. And we already had, so this O to Q was in January of 2018. Q gave us another one at the end of 2018 with the stockings, where they turned O's into Q's in the stockings. So we were looking for O's turned to Q's for the State of the Union address. Enoch was the first person I saw that grabbed the truth banner. Of course, State of the Union. They turned the O into a Q. So we got the hit that something was getting connected for the State of the Union. And we were on this back to the 17th. Part of what we were connecting on Absolute Storm was the old State of the Union from 2018 that talked about, at some point, we're going to give you an activation code. So we're like theorizing, because we saw, like, you watch the news and you see all these ships surrounding Iran, and we're sending like the heaviest military force in the world surrounding Iran. Meanwhile, we're kind of getting some of these clues that there's a possibility of an activation at the State of the Union. Okay. And now before the state, and this is what we were pointing to 2 weeks out. State of the Union, the day of the State of the Union is on the 24th. As he's getting into the beast, he pumps out on his 88022 Twitter handle, or text messaging platform, Trump does. He makes a spelling mistake. Instead of motorcade, he says, I'm on the way to the State of the Union in my motor code. So he's hitting code right there. So we're like, oh shit, we're on it, man. There's something going on.
Joe, I reactivated those text messages because of that catch.
Yep, you should.
By the way, Joe, real quick, I don't want to interrupt you too quickly, but there's also one addition that Enoch had to that O in the Q, because a lot of people are like, oh, you guys are dumb. That's a script O. It's supposed to look like a Q. But people also picked up on the fact that if you right-clicked on that SOTU image, it had a date. It had February 24th as a date, and then a stringer of digits in the file name, and the stringer of digits added up to 17. So if you thought the O was stretchy, they put the 17 in there just to double confirm it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So now it's the day of the State of the Union, and Abs and I are talking about what possible activation codes could we look for. And Abs says maybe they'll say green, like. And now look at the news today, and you'll get to it. That's why I said some of this stuff will tie in, so Ab said like Captain Green, because it's in the Qs that's a go order in the Qs that green means go. Okay. But at the State of the Union, what happens? The big viral moment is Al Green with his stupid banner, and he ends up getting tossed from the State of the Union. So we took that as another possible confirm towards the activation code. And Dan was tweeting before the State of the Union, and he says, take a guess how long the State of the Union will be. And he even put 3 pluses on the last things, but it was a focus for announce to pick up on, hey, pay attention to how long the State of the Union is. Timing is everything. And again, I was hitting look for the activation code. And then the State of the Union ends up to be exactly 107 minutes. And Q107 bangs right off of what we were looking for. So the Q starts exactly with the word code. And then it says, may God grant all the wisdom to what concrete steps we can take to reduce what? The violence and weaponry. So it's hitting not only code, but violence and weaponry, what we're about to do in Iran. And the go orders right there. That's what we were looking for. Go orders. And then pray. We end up tying that back in later. So the speech was 107 minutes, Q107, code, violence, weaponry, go order, pray, Q. It's all right there. Now, like what I mentioned with Abs when he took the shot, that there'll be something with Captain Green. This is the Captain Green Q proof from way back in 2017. And just like Gizmo saw us hitting Q107, so he figured, or Gizmo figured to put up the original Q proof, and it ties back in. Okay, so how this went was Q gave us the Captain Green go order right here with this military thread. And actually Barack Obama tweets out right here this paragraph. Q grabs that paragraph and puts it right here, which I just read about the violence and weaponry. And there's the go order for Captain Green. And Q is saying, pay attention to the timing of when this tweet went live. And Obama's tweet went live at 7:51. Q 7:51 is everything that we're seeing back then and now. Okay, so Q 7:51 opens up with Operation Merlin. And Operation Merlin is all about the Clinton administration giving nukes and giving a pathway to nukes for Iran. That's what the Operation Merlin's all about. Then it goes, Iran, we're going to get into North Korea. Funding, Iran, North Korea. Terror cells, is that in the news today? Payoffs, nuke deal, war engine protection. Everything in the news right now is all in 7:51, and Q told us to look for it. So the speech hit this Q 107. We got the activation order. It went green, and everything in this Q from this timestamp of Obama's timestamp hits everything that we're in the news right now. Okay. So now we also took a guess that the go order could have been Ronald McDonald. And Trump brought the U.S. hockey team to the State of the Union address, and we didn't get a Ronald McDonald at the State of the Union. But the next morning, he brings the U.S. hockey team that was the front and center of the State of the Union address, and he feeds them McDonald's. So we ended up getting the Ronald McDonald tie-in the next morning. So that was kind of fun. All right. So now it's the day after the State of the Union, and we're looking for confirmation of all those go orders and activations and Ronald McDonald and Captain Green and all those to connect. So now we're trying to say, okay, are we operational? And Gizmo says, okay, they're praying in the cabinet at 11:05. That you take that timestamp, you make it a date, and that hits Q104, and we're looking for something with operational now and pray. So Q107 ended up with pray. Now it's time to pray. We are operational. God bless America. So we're like, oh, shoot. Now, I'm personally looking for a direct hit to activation. And at the State of the Union address, warlike Speaker Johnson made a big thing that he was bringing George Washington's gavel to the State of the Union address. All right, so the first image we ever got was George Washington crossing the Delaware. So we're like, okay, he's bringing this gavel out. We better pay attention. So again, this is the next day after the State of the Union. I'm looking for a personal confirmation that we're on the right track with the Absolute Storm team tracking all these activations. He pumps out about the Washington gavel that it was first used 233 years ago. Q 233 directly says, start _code _activation / instruction. Freaking boom. Guess what?
Wow.
Joe, did you happen to see at the same time that you were doing that green stuff, that the mask dig we did?
I saw some of it. Okay.
Yeah,
So now Donald Trump hits Twitter or Truth Social 2:30 in the morning and announces Operation Epic Fury. Okay. So if you weren't paying attention, here's a quick recap. Absolute Storm Team on the left was picking up comms prior to the State of the Union address, talking about fire and fury. It's probably going to come down the pipe and have a reason. And guess what? The operation, we didn't know. We didn't know what it was going to be called, but now we do. Epic Fury. Fire and fury, epic fury.
And the bottom of that drop says non-nuclear, and the entire operation is about denuclearizing Iran.
Rambo, you and I talked about this one. The Trump Watch was getting posted on Fox and other channels at this time as well. And I posted about it in February 19th about, check it out. He's got the Mickey hands, but all the watches are pretty much set to the Mickey hands. So that's not as big of a thing. The 45 through 47 was always interesting. But now that you can look back on it, you got the date stamp sitting there right there on the 28th. And this operation goes live on the 28th. And then that whole group of Qs that I talked about from 499 to 511, the next day, right here in Tampa, Central Command, their jet is 503. And that Q503 is talking about what we were pointing to with the Qs in this sequence of consequential, fire and fury. This Q is banging off both of those. Okay. Now I'm just trying to show people that if you really read the cues from way back when, you shouldn't be surprised. Okay. It's all about freeing Iran, giving power back to the people. Good people of Iran will have the power. You have MIGA, make Iran great again, all these types of things. So we weren't surprised. This was pretty wild. I took a shot on this and it hit. I showed you Donald Trump walked up to Truth Social at 2:30 in the morning and talked about Operation Hammer. Well, or Epic. We're on Epic Fury now. So Epic Fury. The White House posted it at 2:57, and they didn't retweet it. They made a brand new post at 7:04. So I was like, well, for the heck of it, let me run the Delta, and that's 247 minutes apart. Q247 talking about Hussein in Iran and bombs away. All right, can't make it up. All right, Donald Trump pumps out on the 28th at 4:37, all about this whole Iran situation. Now, this ties into back to Musk and Kim Jong, why we started with the Rocket Man stuff, because you're going to start to see a little more of it swerve in. Q47, Iran nuke deal, North Korea, think about their technology, SpaceX. Okay, what happened with NASA's technology? Okay, and it goes on from there. But this is what Donald Trump is having us kind of connect the dots with. Now, SpaceX technology is very, very unique. When they're showing you right now on your TV screen what's going on with these missiles and such, guess what it is? That's SpaceX technology right there, folks. That's unmistakable SpaceX technology. So when Q was talking about Musk, at the time, it was like, oh, okay, he's setting up this clown operation in North Korea. And if Hillary becomes president, their 16-year plan was they were going to have North Korea start World War III. Okay. But we jumped in, clowns out, we cut the strings, we took control. Okay. So now we're using it all back on their ass. You see that? Okay. Now this, eyes in the sky, March 6th. Central Command, March 6th, eyes in the sky. Department of War, March 6th, owning the skies. And then here's the North Korea tie-in. That Q, that same Q, I just read it, March 6th, is showing you it's all connected. There's Kim Jong right there. Okay, eyes in the sky, Central Command, we're dominating the skies in Iran the day after, March 7th. And then Fox hits it, eyes on the sky, exactly. I made a little joke. Hey, Fox, tag me next time. It's my take here. You're stealing. Rambo, I know you and I talked about this one. Again, it's the Q team, the White House, Donald Trump, just showing you if you follow these things, we're always right over the target. They're showing us. this formation with the planes on March 5th, you can't tell me it's a coincidence, an exact delta with the formation of the booms. What are those planes going to do? Going to drop the booms, right? Formation, step formation, boom, step formation, March 5th, March 5th. Okay. Exact delta, Trump blasting about Iran. Okay. And the first sentence is beat them to hell. And I didn't include it in the deck, but the next morning, all hell broke loose. That's when the oil fields went on fire. Okay. And he told you right here, we're going to hit the shit out of Iran. And we did. Why were people surprised? It is all about Iran and coordinating with Israel. United States military and Israel went up and lit the oil fields later that day. But the important thing is to show you that we're all part of the plan, always part of the track, is an exact delta to one of the cues that we started with. March 7th, March 7th, the whole MIGA right there in the queue. All right, and I know you guys saw this. Patriots are in control, March 8th, bang, bang, bang. This one is really important because it's really what we're doing. You are witnessing, and this is right out of that, what I call the sword dance video. That's what's shown time and time again. You are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. Power will return to the people, Q. And that's really what we're doing. That's what we're doing right here with Patriots in control. We're freeing Iran, and that's really what's going on. Okay, but look what happened. This is what I mean. We were going to bookend this sucker. We started with this Q on the right. This is the Q I started this whole damn thing with. This is an exact delta, and look at it. March 8th, Patriots in control. We took control. Iran next. What? So it wrapped all the way back around to where I started way back in 2017. All right, and then this is just to close it out. Absolute storm on February 19th. Look for fire and fury. Operation Epic Fury happens on the 28th. And if you thought that was a reach, oh, look at Donald Trump on the 9th to confirm it. Fire and fury about Iran right there. Boom, boom, boom. Now, I've said that this whole thing probably will end on Easter. So I've been looking for a signal that that track is correct. Not saying that that's definitely going to happen, but I got a pretty good little wink yesterday. So Easter is April 5th. So I've had this Q laid out. Q 1028, April 5th, Delta, 55 Q plus. Donald Trump went up to a mic yesterday wearing purple. His press secretary had pink on. And then the White House posted POTUS 55 plus. So we'll have to see. Does all this end on Easter? We'll see. Think biblical. But that's what I got, guys, man.
Well, here, before we go to everyone else, just real quick. I mean, this fits in, right, Joe, with the go order. The green stuff did happen yesterday, and I didn't pick up on why it was happening until you just did that presentation. And then I want to go to everybody else. But yesterday's speech was also 107.
Nice.
On the White House website.
Look at that.
Boom.
It's unconscious.
Yeah. There it is. So I wanted to drop that in the middle of your presentation when you were talking about drop 107 and 107, but there it is yet again. Let me get everybody involved. Tron, what are your thoughts?
No, this is absolutely fantastic. I'll tell you right now, that presentation that Joe just did right there is probably the most important presentation you'll see in a decode from the longest time and in the longest time. I mean, that is tying in the beginning, the end, that is full circle. And seeing that, Joe, I got to just tell you, man, that gives fuel to everyone that's been here since the beginning, the way you can put it together. And just to throw in a different country, I mean, remember during that time, Saudi Arabia, what happens in Saudi Arabia is going to happen in America. And that was those big arrests. And back then we were like 2 weeks, next week, next month, we can't wait, 2-year Delta, 3-year Delta. And what Joe just went over solidifies a patient patriot will be rewarded. And I'll tell you right now, man, that is just absolutely fantastic. And I remember that outside the Air Force One window, when the autists on the boards were like, wait a minute, this is a different photograph. That's not the route. We were looking at the flight radar. That's not the right route. those lakes, those rivers are, North Korea. That's not the right flight route. And then the solidification came from Q team. Well, the deal's already been cut. So if we can learn anything, guys, North Korea was taken care of, clean and swift. And I'm with you, Joe, man. Easter, how many times has boss said during the last many years, tippy top, Easter is a very important holiday, resurrection, all that fun stuff, biblicalness. And here we are. Where's that Poly Market link? Let's place a bet. Just kidding. We have the Great Sports Almanac. Shout out, Joe, bro. And man, I'm just when you can't be impressed, this is magicians impressing magicians, bro. I'm smiling. Love it, dude.
And Trump is supposedly going to meet with China March 31st and to April 2nd, which those cues on the April 2nd deltas start to tie back into China and North Korea and all that. So we'll just have to see. But that's what I mean. Where some anons they're great about, seeing the decode back then. And then they think, oh, that hit. I'll only just put that away. They don't. They come back around. They repeat. They're circular. And they intertwine. And they have multi-meanings to them. And so we just went through like some major events between, the attacks on Iran and what happened in North Korea and who's really in control and who's. So when you look at that presentation, and if you just had an open, honest mind, would you ever think that Israel is puppeting Trump? No, doesn't make any sense.
No, I'd have a hard time fighting against full control after honestly looking at that. And the drops told us think waves, right? So waves hit and then they draw back and they come back and they hit again. I think that might have something to do with what you're talking about. And as far as the April stuff's concerned, it really emphasized Donald Trump saying every day in America is like April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Right. So April Fool's Day, they think I'm playing a trick on them. And then the arrow on the famous chart that he makes out with before bed says that he left office in that period of time. It's all coming together. Belushi, go ahead, bro.
Stormy Joe, he doesn't suffer from autism. He celebrates it.
It's true.
It's true.
What's funny is I've been working on a couple presentations this week. I did 3 of them that are all geopolitically focused, similar to what Joe did, going back and then coming full circle again, why we had to come back to Iran to close this out. And it didn't include any Q drops. So I'm kind of godsmacked right now how it's all tying together on all layers of communication. Yep. It also makes me think, what else needed to be done covertly in Iran during Biden? Because it's really an 8-year gap, but it's like a 7-year gap through December of last year to the spring of this year. So fantastic dig, spot on.
Yeah, mind blown. Space shot.
Yeah, dude, you can't say enough good about that. And then that's for the stuff, for the people who are kind of like digging deep into it. And the other thing I'll add, because that's just like a slam, a grand slam, a slam dunk, whatever you want to call it. But, to kind of shore up some of maybe more of the normie folks. You guys, I know Tron and Stormy, and maybe some of the other guys can probably tell me the exact number, and I don't know. But like, how many times in the last, month and a half, 2 months have we seen these posts from government agencies talking about, hold the line. We will, like, all these very QE like posts. There's been so many of these friggin' things just to kind of share it up. But then when you look into the stuff and you look deep into the stuff that Joe did here, it's just like, how do you deny it, right? At this point, it's like, no, Trump's just following, No, I think there's more reasons for what we're seeing out here. And that decode is just kaboom. I love it. Always.
So it's like, all right, I've been doing this for 8 years and I'm into it every single day, just grinding it 18, 20 hours a day. So when these events come up, like whatever the event of the day is, you can see that like once you kind of like have this built into your spine, I'm not going anywhere. And I don't get swayed by like, the news of the day. It's being executed on a military level that took decades to plan, and you can just see it. Did you see that 7-year delta on the June 13th, 2018, June 13th, 2025? That is freaking mind-blowing. That's God, that's the Q team, that's military planning for decades. Nobody can tell me different.
It's solid too. And then the funny thing too is, like, to your point about like, do you really think, any country's pushing Trump around? And I would say, like, again, is Trump running the show here, or is he the circus, the ringleader, the front man to everything of a plan that has been laid out before him? So like, can he be even pushed? You know what I mean? Is my question.
Yep. And this isn't to say that there won't be some sort of crazy scare event. Actually, that's part of this. They show us that Patriots in control. The freaking White House themselves just said freaking Patriots are in control. Why do they keep telling us this? Because there's probably going to be some sort of scare event, and we just got to know. We just got to know there's a reason behind it. They want us to have some sort of go order that does something big with the military, even bigger than we're doing now, is all I can conclude, if there is one. And that would be, I would just relax and take a 48-hour break and just kind of let the dust settle. If there's a big scare event, we'll just have to see.
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, all I can say is this: for the people that are doubters and the people that, on some of these shows, when we start going into decodes and they're, why are we still decoding? If you don't think what he just showed you is relevant, you're in the wrong place. Like, just stop following any Q podcast. I don't know what to tell you. And honestly, that's why Q tells you repeats important, repeats are necessary. They told you that. And so we talk about precedent with Trump and the trials and everything else, all the stuff in the news cycle. To me, the drops were all about establishing precedent, right? Misspellings are necessary, timestamps, deltas, difference in posts, zero deltas, all this kind of stuff. They laid the roadmap for you because they knew they were going to repeat things. So it's like, look at what you saw. And guys like Joe and I that came in on the second wave learned all this. It's one thing just to read the drops, and another thing it's to look at them from somebody like Stormy's perspective, right? So when I sit here and I'm running my mouth like this isn't happening in real time, well, I'm not just making that up. I'm going off of exactly what Stormy just showed. They gave you the roadmap with North Korea, and then they told you Iran was next. There's a drop in 2018 that says POTUS just took control of Iran. Mm-hmm. And you have to just use your common sense and say, all right, well, 7 years went by, 6 years went by. What, we think they did nothing? They did absolutely nothing. They just sat back. They did all that stuff. They showed you everything, and then POTUS went on vacation until now. And now we're going in and you're seeing a level of control that it has to be scripted, right? And then you listen to Trump. Let's bring it current. Stormy showed you the proof there. We was talking about the June attack. I always knew the date of attack. He's telling you. Donald Trump just told Axios the other day, it was printed in Al Jazeera on Tuesday, it will end anytime I want it to end. The sleepers, everyone's worried about the sleepers right now. He just told you last night, we know where most of them are. Right? He keeps telling you and reinforcing the fact that what you're watching is a presentation. This is where we get this from. So for people that are new or doubting, whatever, go back, watch that whole thing 3 more times.
Yeah.
And you can understand why we're taking past events and the patterns of the past events and the comms in the past events and simply using common sense and applying it to what we're seeing now. And then how else do you fill in the rest of the dots? Well, I keep harping on Venezuela. Find me another instance of somebody plucking a leader, overthrowing the leader of a destabilized third world country, and there's no boots on the ground. There's no chaos. There's no fighting. There's nothing. We have record amounts of oil flowing through Chevron. Everything is kind of clean and swift, which is exactly what Q told us.
Joe, this is why I'm disappointed that there just isn't enough time in the day. Dude, you're a machine, by the way. Right? You even admitted it. You grind on this thing every day, sometimes 20 hours a day.
Yep.
That is almost impossible for most.
I got the screen time to prove it.
I believe you. Yeah, if my son's screen time looked like yours, he would be grounded. But I will be clipping that and sharing it as far and wide as possible, because there just isn't a way to fight against the idea of full control if you honestly take a look at what you just presented.
Right. So how it came about was I was invited to go on Above the Rabbit Hole with Mickey, and I put 10 Q proofs together to go on his show. But when I started to do some of them, I started to see that they kind of interlocked, and then the light bulb went off on my head to just kind of do what I did, do a whole timeline and put it all together. So that's really what kind of sprung this whole thing on, was that I went on Above the Rabbit Hole and showed some of the proofs, and then I just kind of strung them all together And I was like, wow, this really should be presented, because I went all the way back to, like, you saw February of 2017 pre-Q operation, and just went through all of our Abs and I have done 450 shows together, and just kind of rolled through anything that had to do with Iran and Musk and different connections and the drops and everything. Just kind of, so a lot of the screen grabs are across, all different shows and different formats and different things. But when you see it, then you understand that Musk is part of the show, Kim is part of the show, Iran's part of the show. It's all interconnected. And I love that Belushi was doing a totally side dig on his own with kind of real news, real events, but coming to a lot of the same conclusions. And that's the best compliment that we ever get, is that somebody who's doing it totally different than the kind of what I'm doing is mostly around the Q stuff, but he's doing it real history, real news, but he's kind of getting to the same place. And that's awesome.
It's mind-blowing, honestly, dude. I have 3 that I'm going to show tonight, and it's like the succession of places we have to go to take down these nodes. It's all one military operation, and the Q proofs are just hitting every time. It's mind-blowing to me.
Yep.
I got to be honest. I don't even know how to. I guess this would be the way. Take what Joe just showed and now apply that to everything we're going to look at.
Yep.
Right? Instead of allowing it to stir you into some sort of frenzy, apply what Joe just showed, which is kind of irrefutable. I'd say not kind of. It's irrefutable. And now apply it to the 5th generation warfare psyops that are coming out of your television. It should bring calm, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the playbook, and Q even said, we showed you North Korea for a reason. It was the playbook.
Well, Joe, I know you said about an hour. That's about perfect. Do you have time?
I'll stick for a bit. I want to see what you guys show on the Green Means Go, if you got it. I'll stick for that.
Well, Matrix, I was going to wait for him for that. He said about
okay.
20 minutes. He said 20 minutes because he was the first one to message me on it. So honestly, lately I'm not a machine like you, Joe. I have to take like an hour or 2 after the show and relax because it's just so much to get up at 6 a.m. every day and do this. So I mean, we could show the slide again quick and go around and see what you guys all think about it before he gets here. This was really kind of unbelievable, and it wasn't just RSBN. Am I correct? This also happened on the White House feed.
The White House, YouTube, and on Fox News. I believe Matrix had it on Fox. I'll have to confirm with him, but it was at least in 2 places. And just for anybody that didn't see it, I'll let everyone else talk about it. What Joe's showing you there is the Trump speech yesterday. We were seeing Tennessee, I believe it was. The screen on multiple feeds went green, and it went green at exactly 4:52 Eastern time. You see the lower left there, drop 4:52. Enough is enough, and embedded in there is go, G-O. So think green means go. Also, a lot of people noticed that I saw, just like Gizmo first come up with this one. I don't know who saw it first, doesn't matter. That the green lasted exactly 38 seconds. And there's your connection for carriers and escorts in the Pacific. You got North Korea in there. National Guard deployment starting tomorrow, the calm before the storm. So
nice.
Absolute fire.
That would just be an add-on to this presentation I just did, and it would just keep going.
There we go. That's not what I wanted at all. There we go. I think Matrix trying.
Matrix just popped in.
Yeah, but it says device not connected.
That's not an accident either, guys.
That's wild, dude. Wednesdays are my only day off, and I have my son, and like it's kind of funny that happened yesterday. I completely missed that. That was the first I saw that, so that's pretty cool. Multiple channels went green. That's wild.
Dude, I thought I had the actual video, and I don't.
I have it, Joe. You want to pull it?
Yeah, why don't you show that while Matrix is trying to fix his screen?
Bear with me 1 sec, dude. I gotta pull it down.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I'm a little spun from what Joe just did, to be honest with you.
My green background is a happy coincidence. I wasn't trying to promote war, guys.
Yeah. You triggered it off.
Let's welcome Matrix Codebreakers here. What's up, MQB?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? I literally just walked in the door and sat down and fired this up. So what's going on today?
You are going to want to do yourself a favor as a decoder and go back and watch the first 45 minutes of the show.
Okay.
I'm not, would everybody agree with that?
Yeah. We can't even do it justice.
Yeah, we can't.
Gotcha.
I can't possibly do justice what Joe just showed everybody. It is indefensible if you are not a full control person.
Joe, that video is down in the tray, the IMG 0833. Whatever.
It's the bit. Now, to a lot of people, that doesn't mean. To me, it means something else. It means jobs. That's why we have so many jobs. The best jobs ever.
Come on, man.
Perhaps
Did it
most
happen at the
importantly
same
to
time?
the workers here today, I'm pleased to report that the great big beautiful bill also delivers no tax on overtime. Whoever thought that was going to happen? That means every extra hour you work, your overtime pay is now 100% tax-free. You have no tax. Remember that when you go and vote, because the Democrats want to end it. So you take home 20 or 30% more to those beautiful children or
If you're struggling with the idea that that was an accident, I want everybody to think back to when Joe Biden was speaking and the voiceover of Hunter came on talking about how he took a plea. These are intentional.
Or what was it, Joe, about a month ago when multiple feeds had that weird EBS tone go off at the same time, again, during a Trump speech?
Yeah. Well, a good example too, guys, right? Like all the viewers that are watching right now, you see above the top middle of the screen, Rambo and friends in green and in red and then white, right? That would be like today, him showing up and it's like pink and purple, right? You have to do that. You don't just like, oh, whoops, somebody messed with the contrast and it went to green for 38 seconds and then we popped it back. Like you have to go out of your way to do that, or somebody just got fired, right? So
yeah, then you got to believe it's a coincidence that happened at exactly 4:52, which bangs on. Go. Yeah.
Scared me there for a minute.
And Belushi, to answer your question, it's a good question. The White House YouTube feed doesn't have a clock on it, but if you go and watch it, you can see it happened at the exact same point in the speech.
Okay, so was it the White House's feed was going to be my follow-up question to that, because I was trying to discern where the source of the green came from.
They probably shared the same feed, right?
Okay, right. Because there's also local, whatever, probably network television affiliates that are hosting their own feeds as well. So if it only happened on Trump-controlled feeds, that even further confirms that it's a signal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the White House YouTube, and I think the first one I got, I think, was the X White House account, but I know for sure the second one was the YouTube White House official account.
Yeah, and then the clip we showed was the RSBN feed.
And I'm going to remind everybody, just showed it, but the White House's feed, exactly 1 hour, 7 minutes, 39 seconds.
Whoops. Just by coincidence. And then they have like a half hour in the beginning of show will start in a minute. And it's like, oh, and then somehow they nailed that at 1:07.
Right. Right. Matrix, do you want to show what you saw? Is there anything you want to add to it, bro?
I don't know what you guys have shown, but I'll show you guys what I caught. Definitely have some things. Let me get set up over here. Let's see this one here, because you guys are talking about RSBN. They also had stuff on Fox as well. So let's see, share screen.
I want to get Tron more involved too. Here, while he's doing that, Tron, what are your thoughts so far, buddy?
Yeah, man. Again, like, the Fox comms, and also going back to what you guys said, the Biden conversation that was dubbed over it, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg, oopsie, she died slide. And then we had those follies early on in the Sleepy Joe administration where he was falling through microphones on a green screen. How many times, right? How many times during that administration, especially, remember Space Shot early on, that inauguration, there was no one there. It almost seemed like a stage. And then again, going back to Stormy Joe's dig, it almost feels like the more you call it out, the more you focus on it, the more you dig on it, the more you unveil it, the more that the evil shows itself. And the more that this, awakening is further on than we think. So this is fantastic that not only we, the people, are hyper aware, but just the normies out there, they know something's not right. Whether it's the television, the fake news, or the narrative, something isn't right. This is a wake-up call to all. And again, this further solidifies fake news, the enemy of the people. But at the same time, we can utilize the enemy's extension arm for the benefit of truth and the American way, which is going to lead to justice and also going to lead to, the final finale, the precipice of the mass arrest under RICO, under something, giant umbrella. It's going to be that degree. And again, the patient patriot will be rewarded. And along the way, we're going to get little hints like this, the green and whatnot. And the funny thing is, the day before this happened on the show, Boss dropped an article that had something to do with oranges and bananas. And I'm like, Boss, give us an orange. And then he gives us green. So here we are. Fantastic. Green screen is all the show. And the stage is set, man. Good stuff.
Whoa. There's a hurricane outside.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, Matrix.
All right. Well, right here is, of course, the original one that we had on RSBN. And of course, I caught it right at the right time. I caught it when it happened too, 4:52. So everything I have here is what I caught live on air. So of course you have RSBN. I think I got two of these. Yeah, two of those in a row. And then when we flipped over, oh no, this is still RSBN. This happened at 4:59 as well. So if you guys didn't notice that, there's 4:52. They had the green screen that lasted for, I think somebody said 37 seconds. And then this here happened as well. I don't know the timing on this one, but 51. And let's see, what was the time on this? 59. So yeah, there's a couple of them here. There's another one too. So there's multiple ones that happen. So this one here I found interesting because it happened with 170,000 people watching. So I thought that was kind of funny. But so let me go back. So the original one, of course, what everybody already pretty much knows about, you guys probably already covered, of course, which would be, let me get the drop, of course. Let's see, which one are you? This one? Yeah, the Go code. People talk about that because the timestamp's 4:52. But there is one more piece, though, that was interesting that I did post out on About Fox. So let me get that one pulled up. So yeah, here we go. So this was, of course, the same day he's out there talking. You have Caroline next to him. This was after the green light thing. He's also wearing a purple tie, of course. I'm not going to go into all that, but that's a different decode. But right here it says Trump gives the green light to tankers. And of course, then you have that on the exact same day within, I don't know, a couple hours of each other.
That solidifies it, Joe, right? Like that's yeah. I mean, really, come on.
Jeez. Yeah, that's no coincidence either.
Right. Exactly. And that's the most I have on it because the way we worked it was we kind of jumped past. I didn't get to dig on any of it other than knowing the timestamp. I put this together simply because, of course, Fox gave it to us too. I did put another one out that's big, but it doesn't have anything to do with this. So, of course, I'm not going to pull that one out right now, but put another one out that's way bigger and that is ridiculous last night they put up, but it has nothing to do with this. So
that's what she said.
Exactly.
And dual meanings too for green light, green light to tankers, green light for other things.
Right.
Yep.
Oh man.
Well, I do got to bounce. Thanks for having me on, guys. Hopefully that you guys enjoyed that. If I was going to Threadfest, I'd love to show that presentation. You guys are free to play it at Threadfest. I think it would be great to play, but I hope you guys have an awesome time in Texas. I wish I can go. Abs and I both got family situations. I can speak to mine. My brother's going in for pre-op tomorrow, and then he's probably going to have some sort of major heart operation the following week. So prayers up for my brother. He's older than I am, and we have a big history of heart disease. And on our grandparents' side, both our grandparents passed at the same age he is now. So I think he'll be okay. But I got to be here for him, so I'm not able to attend. But Abs and I will be with you guys in spirit. I hope you guys have a great time.
Joe, I can say personally, yeah, I will miss both of you tremendously. I'll be sure to send pictures and stay in contact, let you know. I'm sure everybody's going to want to say hi to Stormy. So, yeah, prayers up to your brother, bro. I appreciate that. That dig was awesome. It was absolutely amazing. I'm going to clip it and share it everywhere. So.
Okay, guys. Appreciate you guys. Awesome
Thanks,
channel
Joe.
as always, man. Appreciate you.
Later, brother.
Later, brother.
Later, bro.
Peace.